Here he comes.
October 14, 2010, a regular meeting of the City Council was held in City Council chambers on Thursday, October 14, 2010, at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on October 7, 2010 at 5:26 p.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. All councilors are present. Council President, myself, McCarthy, has presided. Councilor Sargent moves to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor, all those opposed. At this time, I would like everyone to rise and join Councilor O'Keefe for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Chief of Fire Department and a very long time coming swearing in ceremony for some new firefighters and the promotion of a lieutenant. I'm very happy to preside over this, and I'm very happy at this time to turn the mic over to Chief Cody to say a few words before we get in with the swearing in. Chief Cody.
Thank you very much for letting us do this here this evening. I'd just like to welcome everybody here tonight for this ceremony, and I'd especially like to thank the council for supporting the 4 positions that they put on this last July. It's helped the department out immensely. It gets us to the point where we can almost keep a second ladder truck in and up at Station 4 on Essex Street, which is a great thing because we haven't been able to do that for quite some time. Thank you very much. Mayor, also, thank you very much for supporting us. I'd like to introduce the 5 people standing at the back of the room. In the white hats would be Keith Pelletier, being promoted to lieutenant, Chris Palomera, Patrick Finnemore, Benjamin Potvin, and Sean Edge. Thank you very much.
We're actually going to do the official swearing in, and we'll start with our incoming lieutenant. If you could step forward and raise your right hand. And just please repeat after me. I,
Keith Pelletier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as lieutenant,
all the duties incumbent upon me as lieutenant,
acting to the best of my ability and understanding,
acting to the best of my ability and understanding,
agreeably with the Constitution
agreeably with the Constitution
and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
as well as the Charter and ordinances
as well as the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Salem.
of the City of Salem.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
Keith Pelletier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. If our new firefighters, maybe we can just step you guys over here just a little bit. That way we can catch you on the camera. We don't want to lose those baby faces on TV. You can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a firefighter, acting to the best of my ability and understanding, agreeably with the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as well as the Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem. So help me God. I
Sean Edge,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United States,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Council Lovell. Could you ask for a 5-minute recess, please?
Gentlemen, we need you all to sign the book so we can make this.
Mr. President?
If you could-
5-minute recess?
Council Pelletier has asked for a 5-minute recess. We stand adjourned for the meeting. Councilor O'Keefe.
Mr. President, point of personal privilege.
Councilor O'Keefe, personal privilege.
Mr. President, members of the City Council, I'd like to recognize a colleague that served with me in the City Council in 1975, Robert Field, F-I-E-L-D, not Fields, Field, whose son-in-law was appointed firefighter tonight.
It's a grandson.
Grandson, appointed firefighter tonight. And I also like to say something about the fire department. Many of our professional firefighters went to New York during the 9/11, and I didn't have the privilege and pleasure to go, but I saw an article in the WNYF, which is the New York City Fire Department magazine, which is a tribute to firefighters in general. Firefighters are ordinary men and women who perform extraordinary fire public service. And I recognize they've all left, but they know my sentiments on all of that as being the retired state fire marshal. But Bob and Lorraine, welcome. Nice to see you again. We're still around, Bob, right? Thank you. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Is Council Lovely. Is the mayor still here? Council Lovely.
Mr. President, I move to take out of order from Mayor's informational page, the mayor requesting opportunity to update the City Council on the status of several waterfront initiatives and discuss the status of the Salem Wharf project, dredging of the South River Channel, and the master planning process for Winter Island.
Any objections?
Sorry, I
Nope.
apologize.
Any objections? Seeing none? At this time, I would like to invite Mayor Driscoll to, she has a brief presentation about where we stand on various projects, and as we all received some emails and what was in the paper recently with regards to some grant money and various other things that are going on the waterfront. So at this time, I turn the meeting over to Mayor Driscoll. Mayor Driscoll.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. And thanks for the opportunity. I know this is a busy night with the swearing in, but to share just a few moments of your time going through some of the initiatives. We got some really good news this week, so we're going to be able to sort of fast track some of the projects, and I thought it's well worth the time to come in and talk briefly about some of those initiatives. A lot of them have been laid out in the harbor plan for years, but we're actually starting to make some progress on them, and certainly there'll be ample opportunity going forward as we have various public processes that need to be completed, but thought you guys should be in the know. Many of these projects wouldn't have even initiated if it wasn't for the support we got in this chamber. So if we can just hit the first slide. This identifies two of the areas. You can see what a beautiful harbor we have. This is a great view, and identifying the Salem Wharf and the South River Dredging Project. At the Seaport Council meeting last week, we received some funding for both of those initiatives, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail about what they entail. This is actually a shot of the South River Harbor Walk. As you all know, that was completed this summer. One of the things that the funding for the South River will enable us to do will be to look at dredging in this area. The walkway is completed on our side under Chapter 91 regulations, and when there is any sort of a change of use of private property, you are required to provide public access. The existing uses down there, for the most part, are grandfathered, save a couple, that being the Hess gas station. When they made some changes to that property, they were required to put a walkway in. You'll see that work starting very soon. Behind Goodyear, there actually is sort of a de facto paved area, so we actually could link it around to connect to the existing harbor walk. And as the property at the Derby Street lot is developed, they would be required to build a public access walkway. So the long-term vision would certainly not be just having the L-shaped walkway that we have now, but actually have it ring the entire property. And as those sites are redeveloped or changes in use are brought forward, Chapter 91 would require that to happen. In fact, the development that was approved for Derby Street, the Derby Street lot, that condo development, did include a walkway as part of their build-out. So you will see work on the Hess station. That DEP's been chasing them. This is a state regulation. What dredging in this area will enable us to do is to utilize the South River Channel in a way for small crafts, small boat craft, marinas, dinghy docks, transient slips. Those are some of the things we know that folks are interested in, and it brings you right to the heart of the downtown. So you could tie up and obviously visit any of the places downtown. Here is another shot of why we need some South River dredging. The area beyond the walkway is also included in the dredging studies and design work that we've done. As you can see, it's low tide, and the Friendship is sitting in some mud. The dredging project will entail not just the channel abutting the walkway, but we'll go out to the mouth of the South River. Presently, the ferry, or the tall ship Friendship can only come in and out during extreme high water tide. So dredging this area will enable greater navigation, and we think some additional use in this site as well, and is fully supported by the National Park Service. So the blue area on this map gives you a greater detail of where we're talking about dredging. And just to give you some of the statistics in terms of what the depths will be, or what we hope the depths will be. The outer river channel will have a 12-foot mean low water mark. The channel abutting Pickering Wharf will be closer to 8 feet, and the basin between the two will be about 4 feet with maybe a 2-foot over dredge. Again, this is the area where we would like to see additional boat traffic, particularly transient slips. It just opens up a whole host of uses, and we've come pretty far with the dredging. Thanks to the funding we've gotten from the Seaport Council, we've received $155,000 in the past that we did the preliminary engineering on. We've done sediment sampling and testing. To no one's surprise, it's not exactly the cleanest sediment in Salem. We've done some cost-benefit analysis for the disposal options. The last piece of funding, the $275, will allow us to finalize the permitting, finalize what the options are. We will have to do an E&F application. There is a draft E&F application that's been completed by Apex, the consultant that we're working with on this project, and we're reviewing that as we speak. We hope to submit that to MEPA soon, and we'll have to wrestle with how we are going to dispose of that sediment in those areas. There are various options that have been laid out. Some of them were even talked about in the harbor plan, but as they do more testing and determine the exact scope and magnitude of the contamination, we'll have a better idea of what we can do, where we can treat it, what those costs are, and also obviously obtain the permitting. Once we have a fully engineered and permitted dredge plan, that puts us in a much better position to try and go after dollars to actually do the dredging work itself. And we'll explore, if that's something that should be phased, if it can be phased, what the phasing cycle would look like. But we definitely see this as one way to connect people to the waterfront and to the downtown in a much closer fashion. So the next funding we got was $1 million for the Blaney Street site. So, when you think about 5 years ago now, we didn't even have a ferry service operating out of this site, and now we have a ferry service that carried 100,000 passengers. They're up 30% this year from last year. They had a dip last year. I think the weather certainly hampered some of their operations this year with so much sunshine, particularly on the weekends. They had a really busy season, and it's not over yet. Through the end of the month, they still run. But as you can see, and if those of us who've been down there recognize, it's a little rough, the site. It's not paved. Obviously, it doesn't drain properly. There's sort of a makeshift trailer out there for the ferry operation. The overall total project is going to cost about $20 million. And if we can advance the slide, you've seen this before. I think this is pretty familiar to the council. The plans call for extending the pier, would allow for a more multimodal facility that would allow for cruise ships, the ferry. The current Accelerate crew boat that operates out of the ferry would allow for a paved lot, a walkway, and a cruise terminal. So we call it a cruise terminal. It's really just a building that can allow for any activity that's happening there. We'd also hope to expand those uses: whale watch, fishing vessels, water taxis. Anything that you can put your mind to expand the waterfront access is something we'd certainly be interested in exploring. And the $1 million, the tricky part with this $1 million that we got from Blaney Street is, okay, what were we going to do? This is a $20 million project, so we wanted to do some immediate improvements on the upland. The good news is we got got the $2.5 million grant. About 3 days later, that was announced. That was a ferry discretionary grant that is actually federal funding, but it flows through the state. And that will now enable us to partner the $1 million with the $2.5 million to have $3.5 million to really tackle some first phase type issues. So what we're talking about doing is building out a portion of the pier, doing the dredging to support that extended pier, and doing the upland improvements. So you'd see the site work done, the drainage, the utilities laid out there, the site would be paved. We wouldn't be able to do the full boardwalk and some of the other complementary items because they just wouldn't fit within the budget. We're trying to maximize getting the biggest bang for our buck, considering that it's going to be a phased project. But a major jumpstart, certainly getting these dollars now, it'll put us in a position, we think, to make some improvements relatively quickly, hopefully even by the start of next season or certainly mid-season, depending upon the time frame. As all of this has come together, it also means we have a tremendous amount of work to do. Part of the effort to attract cruise ships here means you need to have a Coast Guard safety plan. Just the work being put together with our consultant on the pier and the drafts and how we're going to coordinate the activity out there in the meantime between the ferry and the excursion, which runs all year long while construction activity is taking place. At the same time, marketing the port as a destination for other types of uses, be it whale watches or fishing expeditions and the like, is going to require some additional time and some additional expertise. We're very fortunate in that Russ Vickers, who's been working on this project as a volunteer, started out with the Salem Partnership as part of their initiative and their vision, has some free time on his hands. So we have worked with Russ to sign him up under a short-term agreement where he'll serve as the city's consultant as our port development manager, managing many of the aspects of the coordination tied into the construction, working on the Coast Guard security plan. Russ is here as well, no stranger to many people in this room, and provides to us a tremendous experience and expertise related to watercraft, water usage, and helps us advance what we think is a terrific project and a huge economic benefit to the city. I have to say, it all started in this chamber with the support of this council, the encouragement and vision of the partnership, and a lot of folks through the harbor planning effort that said we could have a ferry, we could have a plan that looks something like this. It was more colorful and not as detailed, but the idea of having a real working waterfront tied into the hospitality and tourism industry that also allowed for a host of commercial uses is now becoming much closer to reality. It started with the ferry in here, but we certainly wouldn't have been able to advance it to the stage that we hope to very soon without significant dollars from the Seaport Council. I can't say enough about the state's commitment to this project. They really saw it. We did a lot of hard work demonstrating the economic analysis. The build out of this port, the full build out, is a $20 to $22 million project. It's anticipated to have a $62 million economic incentive to Salem and the North Shore. When you look at the cruise ships and the types of activity that will be happening down there and how nicely it ties into our hospitality and tourism industry, not just in Salem, but in the region, it's tremendously beneficial. So we've been able to sell the project as one that's not some sort of fanciful, great quality of life project. It's one that will provide jobs, will incentivize the existing industries that are here, and the fact that we're going to make it a reality very soon is especially encouraging. I've also heard from a lot of neighbors in that area, the Historic Derby Neighbor Association. I know Councilor McCarthy's been at some of those meetings with me about, can we make some improvements to the lot? So we're killing a lot of birds with one stone here, because we'll see the upland improvements, we'll have access to an improved pier facility. We're talking about having a temporary structure. We won't be able to do a full building build out, but something that's more attractive than what we have down there right now. Bathrooms, the site utilities. So the first phase will be something that we can build on to complete the project. And we do have other grants. As you know, we're very aggressive in looking for grant opportunities, and we've got a couple of other things pending. If they were to break, it would actually make the first phase even larger than it is. But we're certainly excited about starting it, and I wanted to share with you some of these news. The last piece of the waterfront initiatives that we are happy to be starting involves Winter Island. I think we all view Winter Island as just an incredible gem and maybe a diamond in the rough, and maybe capital D and capital R, because it's a wonderful, wonderful recreational amenity. but it also has many, many needs. We've had some fits and stops with looking at the buildings, the barracks and some of the hangar, some of the existing buildings. We've spent some capital dollars to make sure we stabilized and preserved those buildings. In fact, they're in relatively good shape considering their age and the level of attention, or maybe I should say lack of attention, that we've been able to pay to them. We got $140,000 to help with some immediate shoring up of renovations on the site and to help with a master planning process. So we've been talking with Councilor McCarthy, whose ward this happens to fit in. I think actually all of this is in Councilor McCarthy's ward.
Yes, it is.
The joys of representing downtown in the Willows area. And putting together a working group to work on that master planning effort. We have an RFP that's either out this week or will be out next week to work with a design engineering firm. I mean, really need somebody who has a waterfront background, but there are also historic properties here, and a working group that can identify what do we see as a long-term vision for this particular property, how do we best utilize those buildings that are on site, and having stakeholders around the table, and obviously a very public dialogue around how do we improve this area. Once we have that master plan in place and there's a concept that can be realized, it gives us the opportunity to then work away at getting the resources to actually implement that vision. But we see a whole host of opportunities and looking forward to sort of getting the master planning started. I go out there and I think, oh, if we could paint and paper and all the things you want to do, but we really don't want to invest dollars that don't fit within the long-term vision. So that's why the master plan to me seems like a really important start, so we can then piecemeal look at investments that we can afford moving forward. So I think one of the things that we want to make sure we keep our eye on is how we're going to manage all of these waterfront amenities long term. I was talking with Councilor McCarthy this week. The harbor plan laid out a couple of different options. Do you create a harbor management authority? Do you have a separate entity to manage? This is long term. If you had Salem Wharf built out and you're having the type of activity we hope to have, do we put all of our waterfront ports together? Is there one entity that manages Salem Wharf, which we now call Blaney Street, Winter Island, and Kernwood Marina? Do we just want to have a focus on one area? Those are some of the things that we need to think about. For the next, the short term, I think we can keep doing what we're doing, which is a hodgepodge of the planning department, Russ, the harbor master. When somebody wants to use these areas, we're scurrying around. But ideally, you really need to have one place that folks go, one form of operation management for these sites, and what form that takes is something that we're going to have a lot of dialogue about, a lot of thought, and certainly welcome input and suggestions. There's a few models in the harbor plan, but I'd like to think over the course of the next 6 months, maybe the start of the next fiscal year, we can have those sorts of conversations and figure out what do we think is the best long-term model. And there's lots of them for us to talk to other communities about. Beverly has a harbor management authority. Gloucester does it a little bit different. Boston has Massport, the Port Authority. What's the right model for us is something that, I think we need to really start thinking about, because these things are starting to happen. And if you want to come in right now and use Blaney Street, you have to talk to 4 different people. And, we don't have a fee structure, and how's it going to work? And it doesn't happen that often now, but obviously with these improvements, we hope it's going to happen a lot more, and we need to get up and running in a more professional way. So I think that gives you a good idea of some of these 3 areas. Lots of further dialogue, particularly around Winter Island. That will obviously be a very public process for the master plan. The harbor plan did a pretty good job laying out the Salem Wharf initiatives, and the South River dredging right now is still in the planning and design phase. But through the MEPA process or through the E&F process, there certainly will be an opportunity for more public comment as well. But I wanted to at least come in and start having this dialogue and share some of the good news and also some of the steps these initiatives will be taking moving forward. And we certainly welcome any questions or comments. And I would also if Russ has things that he can answer, he's much more of an expert around the waterfront issues than I am, and we're going to be leaning on him over the next few months to help us as we move forward.
Councilor Pelletier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the mayor. I'm going to work backwards. How many dollars do we have for the master plan for Winter Island? And where are those dollars
We got
coming from?
$140,000. It was a federal grant. I believe it's being, I think Housing and Urban Development is the agency in which the grant is coming from. And I think we set aside 40,000 for the master plan. I'm not, it's in that range. There's a portion of the money is actually going for repairs on Winter Island.
Okay.
There's some storage work. There's a number of things that we just need to take care of.
Bathrooms.
Yeah, there's some repairs that are necessary up front, and then the remainder will be going towards the master plan. And I think it's about 140 split, but I can certainly get you the details on the breakout.
Okay, Megan, could you put up on the screen through you the Blaney Street layout? That one right there. Are we going to look at, Blaney Street's such a small street. Are we going to look at the area, I want to say in the left upper corner, going over there's a great, good-sized area there that's still owned by Dominion. If we could put an exit there,
Yeah.
because it's kind of tight. Blaney Street's kind of tight with all those buildings there, and, with that kind of traffic,
Yep.
turning, even, I see the trolley has a tough time, so.
I know one of the earlier harbor plans showed a vision that included that land. At this time, frankly, we're just focused on getting this built out and understanding that we have a relationship with Dominion where we've been able to acquire this parcel, but haven't really gone further with looking at other alternatives. But I hear what you're saying. It is a tight
Okay.
site, particularly on that little
I
entryway in
would
and
think
out.
that needs to be looked at, because it'll be tight. On the pier consultant, is the new pier going to be a complete new pier, or are we going to utilize what's there?
It's a complete new pier.
Complete new pier? Because, as
Well, we're
you know.
using some of the floats, so the anticipation is,
Floats were purchased for reuse in the new facility.
right.
Okay.
But this is in a different spot.
Right,
my-
the
my
existing
concern-
pier is on the other corner of Blaney Street, so where that building is, the cruise terminal, if you went to the end of that site, I'm sorry, I don't have a pointer with me, that's where the existing, that's where you board currently, and where the existing pier, the existing temporary pier is. We'll utilize some of those floats, that's the plan,
Well,
to
you know
bring
what
them
my
over to this.
concern is, right?
No, what's your concern?
That pier has been beaten to death over the past couple winters, and it's costing us a lot of money to continue to fix it. So I would think that if Accelerate Energy is going to use it this winter, we should come up with some kind of way to hang the gangways so that damage don't happen again. Okay?
Good point.
And just one more thing on the South River Basin. I know it was dredged in the area of Pickering Wharf there, the big area there, right by Shetland Park. It's never been dredged on the other side of the bridge. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of contamination, because that's where storm drains flow into.
They have identified some contamination there,
I'm
for
sure.
sure, yeah.
I'm sure.
right.
But my concern is, how are they going to dredge that where they can't get access? There's no more to Swing Bridge. Are they going to do it? You don't know that. We'll
Well, they
find
were
out
able
on
to
that.
work and to get the walkway in. If you recall, they had, Phil Pelletier was able to put some floats in. So I do think there's a way for them to get the equipment out.
Thank you.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Members of the council, Mayor, I have a question following up Councilor Pelletier's. How undoubtedly you'd have a hydraulic dredging operation that you couldn't get under the bridge. The bridge is fixed, so you
Right.
can't go up the South River to,
It's true.
Oh, they got close.
so you'd have to dredge. My question is, where is the spoil going to go from that dredge? Is it going out in the harbor?
Yeah, they're looking at options for that. I mean, some communities, I know New Bedford has recently done a CAD cell where they put it out in the harbor, where they actually construct a CAD cell, deposit the material in it, and put it down. We will have to review what some of the options are with Apex, our engineers.
But it's not going to be spread on other area inside. It's not going to be
No, I think the intention
hydraulically
right now is
flown onto the
to move it and CAD
spoil
cell.
will not go.
Right, and a CAD cell is probably the
One
most
last
cost-effective
question.
way to do
You
that.
have the floor, Councilor.
You have it phase 1, 2, 3. Is that how, and I didn't hear a good timeline. What's going to be first? What's going to be second?
Are you,
We're
for
gonna
which
do it all at
project,
once.
Counselor? For which? For,
South River's first?
Right.
Then Blaney Street, and
Oh,
then
no,
Winter
no, no, no,
Island, or
yeah,
what?
Blaney's, they're different consultants, and they're frankly moving forward on at simultaneous times. So Apex, we're working with Apex on the South River dredge, and they will be working on, completing the ENF application, finalizing the permitting requirements through the Army Corps of Engineers, finalizing the design engineering for the dredge. That will get us to the point where we could, if we had funding, we could dredge. That's the point we want to get to, is where all the permitting is obtained, all the engineering is done. There is a plan to dispose of the material. There's a cost estimate for what it would cost, what the dredging would cost. We are not there. We're sort of 2/3 of the way through the engineering work for dredging. So we need to finalize
Mr.
that.
President, follow-up question then.
O'Keefe.
Please.
Wouldn't it make sense to have one overall consultant for these? Are they on the
No,
top to each other? or-
Bourne Engineering is actually designing the pier, Apex is a consultant that is an engineering that does soil testing, dredging planning, things like that. Different,
The Corps of Engineers would have control of South River too, wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah. We already have all of our permits for
We have-
Blaney
All
Street.
right, but I mean,
yeah.
that was all great, but how are they all going to go together? I mean,
So
it's great, I have support,
Yeah, yeah,
have
it's
since day
great.
one, but I mean, how are you going to get
We're
Blaney
busy.
Street, the cruise ships and,
So two things that are happening.
London.
One, Apex, we're working with Apex to finalize the engineering and design plans. That is being staffed by the planning department. Kathy Wynn and Frank Taramina both work on these projects, on waterfront initiatives. We have Blaney Street that's going forward. We actually just met this morning with Ron Bourne from Bourne Engineering, who has designed all of our plans. As you know, that site is fully permitted. We've been doing a lot of the lead-in work
Yeah.
for that with the support of the Seaport Council. So we're at the point where we're designing construction documents, and we'll be hopefully being in a position to put things out to bid by the end of the calendar year.
last question, Mr. President. What is the overall cost of these three projects?
I don't have an estimate for the dredging. I can tell you we're going to spend $275,000 on the engineering and design plans. Blaney Street, we have the $1 million from Blaney, we have the $2.5 million from the federal, the ferry discretionary grant. Now that needs to be used for the ferry. The $1 million from Seaport's a little bit more flexible. So we have $3.5 million for the first phase. And we just met today to sort of do some cost analysis about what does that buy us, and you know, are there other financial resources that we can bring to bear? If it made sense to have a $4 million project that got you the boardwalk or got you a longer pier or did some things, that might be worthwhile. But since this is a phased project, we're still examining every single cost item in detail.
Do you have a preference for which one's first?
Well, the dredging needs to get done, that's permitting, but I want to get in the ground on Blaney Street, have that lot paved, have your experience using the ferry or coming on or off cruise vessels happening quickly. We are having serious discussions with cruise companies. We'll probably be taking a trip next month to meet with some of the executives from some of the cruise companies that are interested in utilizing Salem as a destination. So there's serious interest. We are seriously interested in having them here, so that could happen very quickly. And that'll be some other input we're seeking. I'm curious for their views on what Blaney Street improvements
Thank you, ma'am.
would make it easier.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council.
Councilor Sosnowski, then Councilor Fury, then Councilor Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the mayor, please. First of all, thank you for this presentation, number one. But I have a couple of questions, all relative to dredging. The first one here would be, there seems to be at least 3 different sites that need to be dredged. And I was wondering if we could put them all together, since they all have questionable deposits of where it's going to go. And then on the first one here, on the South River part here, I noticed you have an area on the east side of Derby Wharf. Are we going to think about building something in that area, a mooring field or something?
Not that I'm aware of. I think they're just identifying the domains of the study area.
Because it seems to me that would,
Oh, that was. Hey, Russ, why don't you come up here so that folks at home can hear you on this? So Russ's comment was that was the old federal channel, and that was the last dredging.
It is a federal channel and it's authorized to be dredged, but it's not part of this planning. It's
not part of this plan, okay. So at the moment, we're not going to go toward that area then? The one that's...
It's just the darker blue area
Okay,
right now
gotcha.
that's in the scope of the study.
All right, great. The next question, could I have you put up the Blaney Street picture, please?
So Mike, let me just answer your first question about the timing of the dredging. So this project is fully permitted,
Yep.
and it looks like, and this, we just met with Ron today, that we're probably only going to be able to do minimal dredging. We're not going to dredge for the whole project because we don't have
Are we
$4 million
talking about the Blaney
just for
Street site?
dredging. Yes.
Yes, I understand that.
So
And
this is
and
ready to dredge, where the other one is not. We're still in designing, permitting phase. So while it would be nice to, if we had the resources and the timing of the permitting lined up right.
The phasing has been explained to me. Kathy Wynn explained that to me.
Okay, all right. Just
I'm
wanted to
just hoping
respond.
that we can accelerate the timelines on this, but,
Me too.
I mean, it would seem to me if we're going to be trying to find a way to dispose of contaminated waste from one area, trying to find a way to dispose of contaminated waste from a second area would be...
There's no contamination here.
Well, there was a mitigation plan on this one here, because it was instead of the spotted owl, I guess it was the spotted sea worm or something, but I mean, it was something they were concerned with.
We're not
here.
anticipating any mitigation for the outer area.
The inner,
Right,
the
it's
inner,
permitted.
the inner area was,
Right.
all right.
The inner area is not permitted yet.
I understand that.
So
Right.
there will be discussions around that, but right now, we are concentrating on the cruise terminal out and
Gotcha.
not the inner title because we have not permitted that site yet.
Third question, and I have one more after this. Could you go to the Winter Island, please? in the left upper corner there is Cat Cove. Any chances of getting that dredged in your plans for Winter Island?
I think the master plan's an open book in my mind. If that's something that is interest, we should bring that up through that working group and talk a little bit about it, what the opportunities are, what the challenges
Except for the fact that there's no
are.
water at low tide. That is an incredibly protected,
right? Okay, that's a good point.
well-usable space that could be really developed nicely into a variety of uses, and Russ is very familiar with that. And the last question that I would ask, and Russ again is familiar with this, and thank you first of all, but there's no diagram showing what I would propose here. But we have certain places, and I think Councilor O'Keefe probably remembers. Remember the old Salem YMCA Island? It's called Coney Island? Yeah. It's pretty much center of Salem Harbor, Salem Sound, more or less. All right, and it's through various storms it has fallen apart. It'd be interesting if we could kind of put this corrugated seawalls and create a maritime island and put the deposits of our dredging materials there to fill it.
Okay.
And now we don't have to find an offshore site to dump. We actually have a place to do it. We can actually mitigate everything they want. And we create a maritime park at the same time.
Okay.
Just a food for thought.
All right, that's a good conversation to have with Apex.
All right.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Fury.
Mr. President, from 1780 to 1810 was the great age of sail, the golden age of sail for Salem. It made the Derbys, the Turners, the Ingersolls very famous in Salem. And our city seal behind Council President McCarthy reflects the maritime history to the furthest point east. This will be a new chapter in the history of Salem, in our maritime history. And instead of witchcraft, the city will be known for, I think it'll be known more for a maritime history, which is one of our founding principles. And I think Russ Vickers is the right person, because he has the Midas touch in so many areas. He's touched Salem in so many ways. His signature statement is everywhere. And this is an exciting period for Salem, and thank you for taking that maritime history back into the front burner. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, John.
Councilor Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Your Honor or Russ. First of all, I just want to say that you've been pretty busy, Your Honor. You've done a lot of work. We've come a long way in a short span with regards to the water. My question was Winter Island. Absolutely diamond in the rough. I just want to know, how restricted are we with the fact that well, technically, we don't own it, we do own it, the Coast Guard. Does that restrict us in any way as far as going forward developing it?
Yeah, part of the review with the master planning process will be sort of a legal analysis. I mean, we don't own the road going into Winter Island. That's owned by Plummer Home, but we certainly have had dialogue with them, and we consider them to be a stakeholder, should be around the table as we talk about these issues. And we will be doing some legal analysis to understand. The Coast Guard has a right of reentry if they ever wanted to, come back and operate a Coast Guard station there. At least that's my understanding. We'll confirm all this as we do some of the title work. The likelihood of that happening is probably not a strong one, but we need to be aware of that and understand what other restrictions there may be in terms of how that land was conveyed to us. So that will be there'll be some preliminary work done on that as part of the master plan, so we can understand if there are restrictions, what they are.
Right. Just one quick follow-up, Your Honor. So I don't know if you know this, but I'll throw it out there anyway. So is there any way that we could, is there any way that you know, or maybe Russ, or anybody for that matter, that we could actually get control of that island?
We could look at that. Are you talking about Winter Island itself? Just own it outright? I mean,
it is.
Generally speaking, it takes an act of Congress to disband a base of any sort. We need to explore what actually happened. We've all heard the stories about Samsol, stopping them from coming on, and I mean, great, terrific stories, and now we do have this wonderful amenity. My sense is there isn't a lot of interest in this, but we want to find out, okay, how high of a hurdle it would be to try and do something finally and completely, or what other sorts of assurances, short of a congressional order, could we get to make sure that whatever we're doing isn't going to be reversed by a Coast Guard decision down the road.
Okay. And one last question, Your Honor. On the, I think it was the South Wharf project, on the other side of Congress Street, in back of the Hess gas station, I often go in there with my boat, go right around there. Now, on that blue chart that was up earlier, is that being part of the dredge, or was that is going to be dredged?
Mm-hmm.
And you did speak about maybe having some public moorings.
We'd love it, yeah. Part of the Chapter 91 requirements require public access. So I know as part of the Derby Street development that didn't get built, they had to build a walkway, they had to allow for public access. We'd love to see small boat marinas. Obviously, the bridge is a hurdle to how much you can get, but transient slips, small boat marina, that type of activity. If we could dredge, it would be a big help. And it brings people right downtown. I mean, you know, you're there, so.
Well, when you go under that bridge, there's a little pier to the right back of Waters and Brown Grapevine. It's absolutely just a little, there's a few boats there.
Yeah.
But if you had that, it's just, I just want to say thank you, Ronnie. You've done a great job, and I'm pretty excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Sergeant.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, just quickly, we had National Grid in here last night to talk about running a 150,000 volt line through the bridge. So,
sorry, I missed it.
It was all fun, it was all good.
Shocking. But the thing is, just to be careful that there's no long-range plans to make a bridge that opens there.
On Congress Street?
No, because once they do that, it won't be possible.
Yeah,
to
no.
open the bridge. They can possibly go down and go up Lafayette Street, but just in case some long-range plan does that, I hate to see them put that through and then find out 5 years later we wanted to get larger boats into there. So
That bridge is relatively new as far as bridges go, and so we're, and I think it was like $10 million then, so we don't have any intention of, of making any changes there.
Mr. President? Councilor Ronan first.
Mr. President, through you. Your Honor, are there any plans right now with the owners of Pickering Wharf to continue that walkway behind their building? They've done some recent work. They actually repaired the seawall behind their administrative offices in Pickering Wharf, which is right across the Congress Street Bridge, or sort of diagonally across from where our new river walk comes out.
Right.
I mean, it would seem to be and I think they're obligated to put a walkway there, but that would seem to be the area so you could walk down our river walk, across the bridge, and then
connect to the rest of the walkway.
To the river side of their administrative building. That walkway would connect to the rest of the walkway around the wharf. It seems that they've put, that metal corrugated steel up, and they've certainly left enough area so that you could, from an engineering perspective, put a walkway in there. And it's a very small section that I think would then, unite our walkway really all the way from Lafayette Street all the way around Pickering Wharf, if just that small section were completed. So I didn't know if any conversation had been had with the owners of Pickering Wharf about that.
Sounds like Councilor McCarthy may be more up to date on this than I am.
Excuse me for not stepping down at this time because of my leg, but if I may, from the podium, I think Mr. Vickers can back me up because he was on the harbor plan. Part of the harbor plan is when the owners of Pickering Wharf, the Rocket family, came in, part of the mitigation with the harbor plan was the potential for them for a new building. And part of that is if they do put in the new building, will be a public access walk.
That's right.
In which they will connect to the Congress Street Bridge and then upgrade the existing walk that goes around their property because there are some up and down undulations to it that they will make it,
accessible.
Smooth transition, handicap accessible that will go from the Congress Street Bridge all the way around back to up to Victoria Station at that point. So there are plans in the work with regard to the harbor plan that was passed a few years ago that because of the whole filled tidelands issue, that if they do proceed forward in the future with a new building, that will be part of the mitigation is that they will have to provide this walkway.
We can certainly look short of that. I mean, clearly, if anyone does any sort of development on the water, they've got to build in these walkways, but short of that.
That's exactly what I was going to get at. They've already done some improvements along that wall, so it would be my position that they're already obligated to put a walkway in, regardless whether or not they decide to build their addition to the hotel. The second thing, in terms of public access and really, just to invite boating in, I would really like to see the dredging on the outside of Derby Wharf.
On the other side, is what
on
you're
the
saying?
other
In the
side,
federal
given
channel.
some priority. If you walk down Derby Wharf, you'll see that there really were, you can see where two piers used to go out. The pylons are still out there. Really, what we're talking about is a minimal expense once we do the dredging of a couple of gangways and some floats on the backside of Derby Wharf. If we do that, then we can obviously encourage, boaters, and then they don't have to go under the bridge. They're right there.
You don't have to
right
navigate
there
in.
downtown
Right.
Salem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Tougher issue, but there's something we can take a look at. I should also thank the Salem Partnership, because the initial vision for let's get Salem back looking at our waterfront, that initial Salem Wharf plan, even around the Congress Street area, was 20 years ago, with the partnership sort of beating away at it. And I think we lost some ground for a little while, but we've really tried to catch up pretty quickly in terms of implementing some things. But without that sort of an agency, and I mean, we're obviously, the city's a part of the partnership, but it really shows the strengths of that organization, that they can keep things alive, through administrations, through creative mechanisms, and allow us to continue progress on something that's good. So they're not here this evening, but they played a critical role in initiating a lot of the design and got us thinking about these things as a city. So.
Any further discussion? Councilor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the City Council, Your Honor the Mayor, I was a member of the City Council when we took that flag
In 1880.
and we went down. The gate was locked at Winter Island, chained by the
This was when
GSA.
Mayor Zoll was here.
This was Mayor Zoll was the
heard the
mayor, and
story.
John Smithelli and me took this flag here.
Mr. Pitkoff.
And we ducked around the fence because the gate was locked. We went to the Smith Pool side. We went around the fence that was there, and we went inside and planted the Salem flag and said, we took over the place from the GSA.
It's a great story.
Many
it
years
really
ago.
is.
And in fact, I remember here, if you go back to Route 1, can you go back to your slide number 1?
Sure. Thanks, Megan. That one?
Second one. Second one, next one. Next one. Next one, where's the, there, right there. Maybe you people don't remember, there was a submarine anchored down there. And it was anchored right across from the Friendship. And as a boy, I remember sitting on there watching them dredge that whole particular thing after the war. A submarine down there with a whole naval training center.
Yes, sir.
Battleship
Sea
Cove,
Now,
right?
Sea Devil.
Yeah, you might remember all of that. I know Councilor Ryan, your father knows about it, but Mayor, great plans, and just keep going. You have our support of the council, I believe, on this.
Great. Well, we appreciate the support,
Thank
and
you.
we'll be back as things progress. And we do need to think about the management. So if you have thoughts on that, please, I'd love to talk more about it. Councilor McCarthy and I have spent some time on it. The harbor plan has some options, but some good models we should follow.
Councilor Pelletier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just one final question, and I don't want to embarrass anybody here. This new position, Port Development Supervisor, Clerk of the Works, what was it again?
It's we're calling it Port Development Port Manager.
Okay. Does that come with any kind of stipend or salary or?
Yes, we have reached an agreement with Russ for an amount not to exceed $1,500 per month, and we have funding from the vessel excursion that pays us a monthly sum that will
What is
cover
vessel
that.
excursion?
The excursion vessel for Accelerate.
Oh, wonderful.
That pays us a monthly stipend. So I hope people
you know
recognize
we're gonna
that
get hit up with
Russ's
these
talents
questions, right?
far
You can
exceed
answer.
the $1,500 per month
And
that
I
we
know-
are paying him. And
I want to thank Russ and the Salem
thank you,
Partnership.
JP.
They've done a great job with everybody else in doing this house plan. Now it's coming to fruition. I can't wait to see it all. I
But
hope we all live
I do
long
want
enough
to
see
share
it.
that Russ's expertise as a marine engineer, he is donating many time and hours and not being compensated for the value of the service he's going to provide to us. So there is certainly a benefit that he's providing to us, and we are very grateful to help us get this thing off the ground and really get moving in a way that makes sense. So thank you for that. We just want to make sure he doesn't starve, but, you know.
Come on, my house in the back.
All right.
Any further discussion? Seeing none?
Excellent.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have
Councilor
something?
Sosnowski?
Yes, at this point, I'd like to move back to the regular portion of the meeting.
Councilor Sosnowski makes a motion to move back to the regular portion of the meeting. All's in favor, all's opposed? At this time, Councilor Lovely, just please. Madam President. Yes, thank you. I left mine up there. Madam President, personal privilege?
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I am going to step down from up there because, as everybody in this room knows, I've recently had knee surgery, and this is the first time I've actually worn a pair of pants and have been on my feet for more than, I think, pushing an hour, and I've really pushed myself, and I'm starting to get a leg cramp. But at this point, personal privilege, I'd like to thank my colleagues, the city clerk's office, for the support, and allow me to continue to do my job from home. And at this time, I'd like to also thank Councilor O'Keefe. Councilor O'Keefe, when I was in the hospital, came by and visited me right before he had his operation, and Councilor O'Keefe's over there with a walker. Normally, I would turn it over to Councilor O'Keefe, being the most senior member. But the geriatric ward in the front here doesn't seem to be able to stand long enough to preside over the entire meeting. Councilor Pinto had the very fortunate duty last night of driving both of us home, and if there had been a video camera of the three of us trying to get into his pickup truck in order to make it home, it was entertaining to say the least. But I'd also like to thank all my friends, neighbors, constituents at this time that have reached out to me and have supported myself and my family with cards, kind words, letters, food, liquor, for my wife, because with my present condition, I'm not allowed to drink. They have been my neighborhood. I can't say enough about my friends and neighbors that have provided pre-cooked meals to my wife in order for her to be able to take care of me and my family during this transition. I am on the mend. Next week, they put me in a brace, which will allow me to stop bending my leg, thank God. And I hope to be back full force very soon. But I'd like to thank Councilor Lovely for agreeing to take over for me at this point. And at this point, I'm going to sit myself down and probably never get up, but thank you. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
Mayor's reappointment of David Hart to the Historic Commission with a term to expire June 1st, 2011.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. Boy, it's been a long time since I've said that. Yes, I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Any
Under discussion, Madam President?
discussion?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody on this council that doesn't know Mr. David Hart. He has contributed so much to so many different things. His knowledge is there. I don't have to go through a resume here because we've all worked with the man, and the man's incredible. His knowledge, he's probably forgotten more than most people will ever learn here, and he's an incredible asset to the city, and I thoroughly support this nomination, and I hope to get the council's approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pelletier.
Yeah, I also fully support. David's he's a gentleman. He runs around with his little hat on and his camera. He's always prepared. When we were doing the Salem jail, he was right on, spot on there. I'd like to keep him on there, and I fully support it. I hope my colleagues do too.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Fiore?
Yes.
Councilor Lovely?
Yes.
Councilor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Councilor Pelletier?
Yes.
Councilor Pinto?
Yes.
Councilor Prevey?
Yes.
Councilor Ronan?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have a transfer of $591,686.05 from Human Resources Collective Bargaining Reserve to city departments.
Councilor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be referred to Committee on Administration and Finance.
The matter is moved to Administration and Finance under the rules. Thank you, Councilor Prevey. Further communications from the mayor.
that $50,000 be rescinded from the capital outlay renovations and repairs account originally appropriated for the analysis of the Collins and Saltonstall school buildings.
Counselor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be referred to Committee on Administration and Finance.
The matter is referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules.
Madam President, point of clarification.
Yes.
Does it get referred under the rules, or do we have to take a vote?
Take a vote.
You have to take a vote.
Yeah.
There's some, the subsequent matters, because it asks for suspension, I know we can refer them under the
Okay.
rules. So I'd ask for my colleagues.
All those in favor of moving the $50,000 from capital outlay renovation repairs for the Collins and Saltonstall school buildings to Administration and Finance, all those in favor? All those opposed? So voted.
Madam President,
Clarifications?
Counselor O'Keefe.
we should go back and do the same thing to the previous order.
Just to be safe.
No.
Transfer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Transfer, yes.
Move reconsideration.
With regard to the transfer of $591,686.05 from Human Resources Collective Bargaining Reserve to City Departments, Counselor Prevey.
I move that the matter be referred to Committee on Administration and Finance.
Counselor Prevey moves the matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $50,000 within the capital outlay equipment account to be expended for the purchase of a truck for the school building department.
Counselor Prevey.
Madam President, I move that the matter be referred to Committee under the rules.
The matter is referred under the rules. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $48,306.75 from Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback to be expended for the retirement buyback of John Joden of the Police Department.
Counselor Prevey.
Madam President, I move that this matter be referred to Committee under the rules.
The matter is referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules. Further communications from the mayor.
We have appropriation of $15,077.47 from capital outlay renovations and repairs to be expended for the repair of the flood damage in the parking garage.
Counselor Prevey.
Madam President, I move that this matter be referred to Committee under the rules.
The matter is referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Counselor Ryan.
Madam President. City of Salem in the year 2010, an ordinance to amend relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Butler Street in front of number 71 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by the city charter.
Under discussion.
This is a request for a handicap spot in front of 71 Butler Street, which is on the corner of Butler and Ord Street. The petitioner, Bonnie Stavros, originally wanted the spot on Ord Street, but it's too narrow, and Lieutenant Pazuski said that he would approve it for in front of Butler Street, and I followed up with the Mrs. Stavros, and she was fine with that, so we'll go ahead with that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Counselor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, October 14, 2010, ordered that the Committee on Administration and Finance meet to discuss all financial transactions reflected in our monthly financial reports as well as the year-to-date budget reports, and that the committee meet with the finance director, his assistant, the mayor's aide, or any department head deemed appropriate by the committee in connection with any or all transactions or matters reflected in the aforementioned reports.
Under discussion.
Madam President, I'm bringing this council order in because, as you know, this past June when we passed the budget, we obviously went through a lot of detail in terms of the specifics and the mechanics of the budget. And I think it's something which the Finance Committee, in terms of just trying to do a lot of follow-up work, to see throughout the year, to give us the opportunity to follow some of the transactions that go on, what occurs, what doesn't occur, where did some of the money go, why is it going into this account, to also ask questions about tracking accounts that perhaps are being slowly utilized and depleted. So I think it will give us an opportunity as a committee to have things looked at a little bit more carefully as the money flows in and out of the city. The problem as it exists right now, as you know, Madam President, we can only take up matters that are currently in committee. And so by putting this council order in, I believe it'll provide with enough wide berth for the committee really to try to bring the finance director and any department heads about any matters that the committee thinks are appropriate, and then we can just ask general questions about where some of the money is going. So I think it's appropriate, especially given the fact that some of the money matters, I know we had a lot of them that are referred to committee, but over the last few weeks, we really didn't have any. We approved some of the ones that came in front of us, and so we canceled administration and finance, and I think that would be an opportune time for the committee to utilize that time where we don't have pending money matters to get the finance director, department heads in and ask them some questions about some of the transactions that are going on. Because as you know, Madam President, also at the end of the year, when we approve these budget items at the beginning of the budget cycle, at the end of the year, we start looking at them, we kind of wonder, why were they depleted? Why wasn't certain money utilized? And I think throughout the year, this will give us an opportunity to really kind of delve in and sink our teeth into some of this stuff. So I know the committee would provide us with more authority to do that. So I'd ask for support on that.
Thank you, Councilor Privy. Councilor Pelletier.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We already have, you as chairperson already have the authority to bring in any department head you want. So I don't understand where this is going. You can demand any department head come in. I'm just curious as to, you have a problem with somebody coming in? Is that what it is, or?
Councilor Privy.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you. No, we don't have a problem with any department head coming in. And we certainly have the authority, but we only really have the authority if there's a current matter that's in committee. If there's no current matter in committee, we can't just yank in a department head and start asking questions about a matter that just really is not before us. By putting something like this in, we'll look through the budget reports, we'll see kind of, what's going on in here. Then we can bring them in based upon these things that are in committee. So it kind of, it opens the door for us to do that. Otherwise, if there's no money matters in committee as it is, we just end up, canceling the committee meeting, so.
Thank you.
Councilor Fury, then Councilor Ronan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sometimes it's hard for us as part-time citizen soldiers, even being on administration and finance, I have that pleasure to serve with you, the chairman, is to ask the right questions. Where was the area of the budget analyst? I thought we talked about that in the budget times. Is that still in the front burner, having a budget analyst? If we had a budget analyst, we could ask the right questions to our managers and to our department heads. But right now, I can't think of always the questions in committee. Where is that budget analyst, and do we know whether there's a possibility to help us in your endeavor to make it more transparent and open, if I may ask that question?
Councilor Privy.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't know where it is. I mean, obviously, it's been appropriated, the money. And I know previously, I think it was 2 years ago, when there was money appropriated, I know myself, Councilor Lovely, it was either Sosnowski or Sargent, we met, we took in proposals, RFPs for people that actually put in for that. We met with the Human Resources Director. So I would anticipate that process is, we're going to go through that as well. I guess it's just a matter of a question of when. And that's something I think we should direct perhaps to the administration, especially if the Human Resources Director is going to be one of the chief people driving that forward. So we'll talk with her about that and try to get that thing moving forward, because unlike in the past when there was a budget cut, we don't want the money to disappear now that's been appropriated.
Thank you. Councilor Ronan.
Yep. Madam President, I found going through that budget process that those monthly statements are really a very valuable tool. And I sort of stumbled on them by accident, and you can see that basically what it is it's a running budget. It shows exactly what the line item is that that we had approved, what's been spent to date, and if you look at that in connection with the budget, you can really glean a lot of information out of those reports. What happens is the reports are given to us with a bunch of other material, and they really are never vetted in a committee. They're just given to us, and when I go through them and I have a problem, what I wind up doing myself for clarification is I call Rich Fisquet, and he usually gives me the answers that I'm looking for. But it should be, I think, and I think that that's sort of the intended purpose of this, this motion, it should be that they are just, as a matter of course, referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. That way, if there are any questions on those matters, you know, we can go over them. There are 5 members. Rich Visquet always attends our committee meetings on administration and finances, and we can get the answers answered, you know, right away. And there are times, few and far between, that the administration and finance does not meet because we don't have a matter before us. And that just happened this week. It would have been a great opportunity for us to go through the last 2 monthly statements that were handed down. So I think it's a good motion. I think, you know, these things should go to administration and finance.
Hold on, Council. Council Prevey, could I ask, are you also including the school business manager to come in as well?
I could certainly amend my council order to include the school business manager, because I know historically we did that in the past. Remember, I believe it was Councilor O'Leary who brought in a council order my first year on the council, and we had the school business manager come in and give us an updated report. So I will certainly accept that as a friendly amendment and add that to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Pelletier.
Yes, just to clarify, are we trying to create an ordinance here?
No.
No, this is just the motion. I mean,
Council Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to Councilor Pelletier. No, all we're doing is we're putting a council order in. It will stay as a council order just to allow us to have a matter to keep. We would take up the same matter every time you would
I
have.
understand now.
It would
Thank
have to
you.
do with the financial reports.
It'll be in committee all
Right.
year long.
Yeah, it would be there perpetually.
So
Yeah.
will it- perpetual?
Perpetually throughout the rest of the year, and then obviously when the new calendar year starts, we'll.
That's it.
You're right.
Thank you.
Council McCarthy.
Madam President, excuse my inability to rise. Through you to Council Privy. Obviously, it seems like a good way to utilize downtime when there's no matters in front of your committee or for your regular standing meeting. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that we're all very cognitive of the fact that obviously, if you're going to take up that matter, that if you make that decision early enough prior to the 48-hour posting for the open meeting law, because obviously we can't just have Mr. Visquet come in and talk about whatever it is we wanted to talk about it that night without having it on the agenda. So I just want to make sure that we're understanding of the fact that if there is nothing in front of the committee and it is your intent to do that, that make sure that you coordinate that with the clerk's office so it gets posted in such a way that anybody who might want to, from the public who might want to come in and weigh in on whatever, whether it's the monthly financial statement or whatever it is, that they are aware of, that they have that ability to do so.
Okay. Council Pelletier.
Yeah, I just want to point out that as you and I and the committee dealing with the new sunshine orders, this is going to play into that, where it'll have to be advertised, for the public to know.
Posted.
Yeah, as long as it's posted.
Posted,
Yeah, thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, excuse my not standing to present this. City of Salem and City Council, October 14, 2010, ordered that the regular meetings of the City Council for the months of November and December shall be held on Thursday, November 18, 2010, and Thursday, December 9, 2010.
Any further discussion?
Under discussion, briefly, Madam President, in working with the city clerk, typically in the months of November, because of the Thanksgiving holiday, and because in the month of December it was the Christmas holiday, traditionally only meet once during both of those months. In working with the city clerk's office, we came up with the 18th because of the first week being election, the second week, I believe it's Veterans Day, and so it worked out that the 18th worked out before we got into the Thanksgiving holiday, so that's why we picked the 18th. And we picked early on in December for the regular meeting, the first Thursday, only because knowing that at some point later in December we'll be calling a special meeting to probably set the tax rate unless they've got it in front of us before the 9th meeting. So knowing that, that's why I work with the city clerk when we pick those 2 dates, and I would ask that my fellow colleagues support those dates. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, October 14, 2010, ordered that the year-to-date budget report dated September 30th, 2010 be received and referred to Committee on Administration and Finance.
Under discussion?
Briefly, Madam President, with respect to the council order that was just approved by my colleagues, I'm going to start by referring this first up-to-date budget report. We'll put it in committee, and then when we have an opportunity, after we clear up some of the other financial matters, we'll take this up with the finance director. If anyone has any questions, if not, then we'll bring it out of committee, and that will be it.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions.
Council, you all set? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt earlier.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, I excuse my inability to stand to present this. City of Salem, election order, state election, and City Council, October 14, 2010, ordered that the meetings of the qualified voters of the City of Salem be held in the several voting precincts in the city at the polling places designated herein on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2010, for the purpose of casting votes in the state election for the candidates of the political parties in the following offices and questions. Governor and Lieutenant Governor for the Commonwealth, Attorney General for this Commonwealth, Secretary of State for this Commonwealth, Treasurer for this Commonwealth, Auditor for this Commonwealth, Representative in Congress, 6th District, District Council, 5th Council of District, Senator in the General Court, 2nd Essex District, Representative in the General Court, 7th Essex District, District Attorney, Eastern District, Sheriff, Essex County. And the following questions. I would ask this time that someone would
waive the reading.
Thank you. Madam President, can we waive the readings of the questions?
Go ahead.
Obviously, for everybody at home, there are 1, 2, 3 ballot questions on the ballot, and I would encourage everyone to read them at home before going into the election and to your polling places. At this time, I would now like to read into the order of the various polling places that will be utilized during the upcoming election. And to be further ordered, the following places be hereby are designated as polling places for said voting. Ward 1, Precincts 1 and 2, Bentley School Memorial Drive. Ward 2, Precincts 1 and 2, St. John's Parish Hall, St. Peter Street. Ward 3, Precincts 1 and 2, Salem High School Auditorium, 77 Wilson Street. Ward 4, Precincts 1 and 2, Witchcraft Heights School Gymnasium, 1 Frederick Street. Ward 5, Precinct 1, Temple Shalom, 287 Lafayette Street. Precinct 2, Community Room, Pioneer Terrace. Ward 6, Precinct 1, Bates School, Liberty Hill Avenue. Precinct 2, Mack Park, Tremont Street. Ward 7, Precincts 1 and 2, Salem State Enterprise Center, 121 Loring Avenue. Further order that the polls for said voting be opened at 7 a.m. and closed at 8 p.m., and that the city clerk be instructed to post this notice as required by law.
Any further, under discussion, any further discussion?
I think it speaks volumes, and I hope that everyone goes out and votes on Election Day. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Any further discussion from the council? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further motions and orders and resolutions? None. Committee reports. Councilor Prevey?
No committee reports, Madam President.
I do.
Council Prevey,
Councilor Prevey, who's still in the chair? That's all right. I'm just going to stand over here.
Chair recognizes Councilor Lovely.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem, in City Council, October 14, 2010. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom is referred the order number 511A, Electronic Personal Assistance Mobility Device Ordinance, has considered said matter and would recommend first passage and that the matter be referred back to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? So voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion, Councilor Lovely.
Thank you, Mr. President. You all have on your desk this evening a letter from Solicitor Beth Bernard, actually addressed to me, the chair of the committee. Also, we have a strike-through ordinance and then the final ordinance that we discussed in committee actually on September 30th, I believe. We had the 2 Segway companies that came in. They were both very informational. So people that at home, we're talking about Segways, which is those personal electronic assisted mobility device, and I don't think I got that right. But There's no state law, there's no local law that prohibits segways or regulates segways in our city. Our police department has them. Those are kind of a super segway. They go much faster than these segways will go. These will be used for by these two tour operator companies or other companies that may want to come to our city someday. We went over with the solicitor provision by provision, section by section in the ordinance, and we think we've come up with a good draft for first passage, but we do want to put it into committee because we have a little more information that we want to work on before we have it come out for second passage. It may come out with amendments, it may not, but when we met in committee on September 30th, we had motioned to create a small committee to take a look at this. That was through being administered through the solicitor's office. We have not been able to meet yet. We have not been able to coordinate schedules. But because we don't have any regulation on the books, we want something on to be at least out there for first passage because these two tour companies are here operating. There is attached here, there's one of the companies has a route attached. I think it's Boston Gliders. We will also require that the second company, which city Segway, follow the same route. These Segways are operated on sidewalks, not on city streets. So it shares the sidewalk with walking pedestrians and now riding pedestrians. Something that we're still learning a bit about. But again, we wanted to have regulations on the books since we have nothing in place right now. For instance, no one under 14 would be able to operate one, or under 100 pounds. You have to wear a helmet, like a safety helmet, a reflective vest. They're not going to be able to be allowed to operate in the evening, and I know there's some councilors that may want to change that, but this draft right now says not in the evening, and then there is a proposed route. There's six people per tour, and then one guide, so that makes a total of 7. Can't be any more than that. They have to have an audible device as they're going down the sidewalk, so that that's safe if they, and they've learned how, they have to go through a kind of a mini class, I think about a half an hour instruction on how to use it and brake. I haven't been on one, so I don't know how they work, but I hope to be on one at some time this season. So that's where we're at. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council might have, but again, we're looking for first passage. It's going back to committee. This ad hoc committee is then going to meet, and we hope to have it out for second passage in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Pelletier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And going over this strike-through ordinance, I found a couple of things that in the committee meeting we didn't address, so there will be amendments. I thank Councilor Lovely, the chairperson. We worked on this long and hard. I want to thank Beth Renard. There were several things that come up at the meeting. I was totally against single rentals. Going in groups is fine, but if we have single rentals out there with the college kids, I think it's going to be a bad situation in the downtown. But these are two professional companies coming in. They do it in Boston, so we're hoping for good things to come out of it. That's it. It'll go back to committee. We got to work on it some more, but I thank the chairperson. She's done very well.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem with this. Everything we've discussed in committee is fine. However, the only question I do have would be actually to our city clerk. If we advertise, through you to the city clerk, please. If we advertise this as is for the first passage, then we change it, then we have to advertise it a second time. Is this going to cost you twice as much as it normally would? Yeah. As compared to just doing it once? And at this point, then I would ask that we not pass it for first passage. I would say that remaining committee, we do tweak it, we do what we have to do, and then we make it work without costing the city clerk's department any extra money, because it's very expensive to advertise this particular piece of thing. And quite honestly, they're already running. Whether or not we pass it now, we pass it 2 weeks, or we pass it in November, even after the season's over, they're still running. And they understand. They're cooperating with us. They've been in here. We've talked with both companies. They're very cooperative. They're very friendly. and anything we ask them, they've been pretty much cooperative with. So, I mean, it's a friendly working relationship, and I'm just trying to save some money where we can, that's all. Thank you.
Could I, Mr. President?
Councilor Sargent?
Thank you, Mr. President. If that be the case, then I ask that we split the question and approve the route that they're taking, so that they're able to use the map and use the routes they're taking, and they'll be okay with that, and then work on the ordinance later, if that be the case, if we put it in committee. Thank you.
Councilor Pelletier?
Yeah, I agree with my colleague across the aisle, but the only problem is these people have their tour guide licenses and they're ready to go, and they can go out there and, am I correct on this, Council? And they can go out there and work right now, but we have no ordinance to direct them. So, I mean, we can say all well and good, they can go out there and do whatever they want, but, you know, they can adhere to the proposed ordinance, but it's not in place. With first passage, it'll be in place. I don't know what the cost is, but I'm sure it's minimal as far as safety goes.
Councilor Lovely? Can I respond at all? Or?
No.
Okay. Councilor Pinto?
Thank you, Mr. President. My only concern is the routes. I'm looking at the preliminary route here, and I know we were supposed to try to get together and have a meeting, Councilor Sosnowski, myself, Councilor Pelletier. We've been unable to have a meeting, so I'd rather not first passage the routes, because they're going to be running the routes, and we're not going to have any say. We're not going to be able to change. I think we should wait and get it right. I hate the first passage just and have to come back and do it all over again. Thank you.
Councilor Sosnowski?
Thank you, Mr. President. Relative to the first question, through you to Councilor Pelletier. Yeah, are we taking a chance? Yeah, we're taking a chance. However, they have to be licensed every year. If they prove themselves not to be trustworthy, when they come up for licensing next year, then they're going to have to face it at that point. And I don't know about your memory, but my memory is not that short. The second point is relative to the routes. We were here discussing the routes with them, and just so everybody understands that, they were trying to pretty much duplicate some of the existing trolley routes. However, they had to stay on sidewalks, and various sidewalks, as we all know, had routes that uplift the concrete pads and uplift the asphalt. And this is not a very friendly thing to a Segway. So what they had to do is they modified a lot of this stuff while trying to still remain in historic areas, but they tried, they literally walked the route so they could see where a novice Segway operator would have a problem or not. All right? And so that was there. Now, do we want to approve the route separately? I agree with you. Let's do it right. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I just want to give you some clarification as to how they came to the route in the first place.
Thank you.
All right? And that's how that came to be. Thank you.
Councilor Lovely?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if there's a motion on the floor right now to refer this back to committee.
I think the only motion that stands is the one that you've made, Councilor Lovely.
Okay. I'd just like to respond. I mean, I know it costs extra money. Right now, we have nothing in place. By putting this, at least for first passage, we will be able to regulate the required equipment, helmets, safety vests, licensing, training, insurance, $1 million per injury, $2 million $1 million, $2 million, where they'll operate. They have to operate on sidewalks. The fact that we want to be able to regulate that no one under 14, both these companies said in other locations, 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, as long as they know how to operate it. We want at least 100 pounds. That we won't be able to regulate that. Operation limited to certain sidewalks, districts and hours. They want to be able to operate at night. We may not want them to be able to operate at night. So if we don't put anything in place right now, and we put it in committee, they can do whatever they want. And that's what my issue is. That's why I want first passage. I know it costs more money to do it. But if we don't put something in place tonight, they can do whatever they want, wherever they want to go. So I just think it's important that we think about this, about doing a first passage. And I know it's going to cost extra money, but I think it's worth it.
Further discussion? Councilor Pelletier?
I agree with the chairperson of Organized License and Legal Affairs. And I have no problem separating the route from the ordinance. That's not an issue to me. We need to protect the city as far as liability. You just talked about it, Council, all the sidewalk, uneven sidewalks. I don't care that they went out and walked the route. You never know. You got people do half-hour training going off the sidewalk. We need to cover ourselves. I mean, they're going into business whether we like it or not because they got their tour guide license. They're ready to go. So minimal cost, let's protect ourselves and let's pass it for first passage. We can do the route separate. I'll make a motion to separate the route, the proposed route from the ordinance.
We don't need to.
Okay, Council Lovely.
Mr. President, this would just be first passage. The route can change as well.
You
know,
got-
once we go in, I mean, is this the route that you want, or do we need to be, we just got this route tonight. I just saw this tonight. I want this to go back into committee. I want to take a look at it. I don't want to approve the route and then, put the other part into and not approve it anyway.
Council Ronan.
Mr. President, this is a matter that I really didn't think that I would get a constituent call on in Ward 5, but I have already. A very good friend of mine, a confidant, called me last week and he said, we really have to do something about passing an ordinance with respect to these segways because somebody's going to get hit and somebody's going to get hurt. They were going much faster than the pedestrian traffic, and this gentleman, Carson Biot from Ward 5, I'll give him an attaboy, says somebody's going to get hit, somebody's going to get hurt here. So I think it's a better practice, really, at this point. I am certainly one for saving money, but it's a modest amount of money to publish it twice. I think would be better served if we pass it initially tonight, republish if we have to, but tweak it and get something in place as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Keefe.
Move the question and adopt for first passage.
On Councilor Lovely's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in...
Roll call vote.
Roll call, Mr. President.
And refer back to committee.
Refer back to committee. Motion has been made for roll call vote. Can I see 3 hands? Seeing 3 hands, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Council Fury?
Yes.
Council Lovely?
Yes.
Council O'Keefe?
Yes.
Council Pelletier?
Yes.
Council Pinto?
Yes.
Council Creevy?
Yes.
Council Ronan?
Yes.
Council Ryan?
Yes.
Council Sergeant?
Yes.
Council Sosnowski?
Yes.
Council McCarthy?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with the component pieces that we can't approve.
On the matter of adoption for first passage of the ordinance and referral back to Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, we have 11 councilors voting in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries.
Mr. President,
Councilor O'Keefe.
I move for immediate reconsideration. I hope it will not prevail.
Councilor O'Keefe's motion for immediate reconsideration, the hopes that does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. So ordered. Matter carries.
11 votes, no need.
Move the question.
Further committee reports? There being none? I'm sorry, there is one. Council McCarthy.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to try to get up for this one. Look at that, I can stand.
Just don't fall.
That would be a big fall, thank you. City of Salem, City Council, October 14, 2010. The Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of a petition from National Grid for preliminary approval to partially occupy a bay for conduit on the Congress Street Bridge, has considered said matter and recommend approval. Under discussion? Thank you, Madam President. Last night we had my first meeting back since my mishap, and we had the folks from National Grid in. And National Grid is in the process of a major undertaking. They are in the they have to replace 2 transmission lines that actually run underneath our streets. There's 2 routes. Basically they go from point A being the power plant and point B being the substation on Canal Street. And the existing lines are very old and they're in need of repair, and they've outlived their usefulness. So National Grid has to go through a whole long permitting process, which we are told last night will take anywhere from a year to 18 months, up to 2 years, to get approval from all the different state agencies with regard to their proposed new routes and how they're going to redo these power lines. That being said, one of the potential routes that they've identified is actually utilizes going down, getting to the Congress Street Bridge, going underneath the bridge, and then going up Congress Street, and then up one of the side streets across Lafayette and down the hill. That being said, the Department of Transportation at the state level has requested National Grid to get initial approval from the city council for approval for the potential that we, as the council, keep this bay in the bridge open for their consideration to utilize it at a future date, if approved by DOT, after a series of public hearings, that they would come back to us at that point and ask us for permanent conduits underneath the bridge, which is very typical of what we do when we do pulls and conduits across street crossings and whatever. So at this point, I would ask my colleagues, as we move this process forward, to just approve what the committee approved last night, to allow National Grid to basically lay a little bit of a claim on this open bay underneath the bridge, so that no one else in the next year to 18 months can come in and say, hey, we want to run lines underneath there. It just allows them to say, but they still have to come back to us in a year to 18 months if this is one of the approved routes, and then it would start the whole public hearing process that we see very typically when they come in front of us and ask to install permanent conduits. So at this time, I would like to thank everybody who attended the meeting last night, and I would urge my colleagues for passage. Thank you.
Any further discussion? On acceptance of the committee's report, all those in favor? All those opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? Opposed, so voted. Further committee reports? There being none. Councilman McCarthy, would you please request that we move back to motions, orders, and resolutions?
Yes, Madam President, I request that we move back to motions, orders, and resolutions to take up a matter that was missed.
There being no objection, Councilman McCarthy.
At this time, would you like me to do it for you, Council?
Would you please?
Sure.
It's underneath that one.
This one?
There you go.
City of Salem City Council, October 14, 2010, ordered that the enclosed 2 tag day applications be granted. Salem High School Girls Soccer, October 17th from 8 a.m. to noon. Salem Youth Football, October 24th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Under discussion?
Under discussion. Thank you, Madam President. Typically these would get referred when we refer them out at the next meeting, but because of the time sensitive of the nature of these 2 requests, we're going to take them up under orders, and I would urge my colleagues to approve these 2, the girls soccer and the youth football, in order to, as much as tag day, I personally don't like tag days myself, but it seems to be a great tool for these various organizations to raise some awareness of what they're doing and try to raise some funds to offset some of the costs that, for their participants in these programs. So I would urge my colleagues for approval.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed, so voted. Council McCarthy, move that
At this point, Madam President, I request that we move back to the regular portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have a request from B&S Fitness to use city streets on March 6, 2011 to hold a road race.
Councilor Pinto.
Thank you, Madam President. Move for approval.
Under discussion?
Under discussion, thank you. This is a first-time event, and I'm actually doing this for Councilor McCarthy because it's coming out of his ward. It's a first-time annual race that B&S Fitness is putting on. It's a 20-mile race. It's actually a 10-mile loop that the runners are going to run twice to make it 20 miles. Councilor McCarthy is going to run the first 10, and I'm going to run the second. Anyway,
Right behind you, my truck.
it's hosted by B&S Fitness, which is Brandy and Steve Dion, who everybody knows runs the boot camp down at the Common, and they're running it to raise money for Salem Rec Department and to benefit the Salem youth programs. It looks like it has the approval of the Salem Police Department, and I would hope that my colleagues would give full approval to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have a request from Linda Capuccio, owner of Strega Restaurant, 94 Lafayette Street, to have a sidewalk tent during haunted happenings on the following dates: 10/16, 10/22, 10 through 10/24, and 10/29 through 10/31.
Councilor Pelletier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Madam President, move for approval.
Under discussion?
Yes, I appreciate my councilors who signed the early petition to get this done. I think the city clerk warned this, or spoke to this person, and Miss Linda Capuccio about coming in earlier next year. We do this every year for her to put a tent outside of Strager's. I have no problem with that. People have no problem with that. But she's got to get in earlier to get in so we don't have to go through this process. Once again, I want to thank the colleagues for signing off on it early.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. The only question I would have is, I think it's a great idea, and I've seen it in the past, but I didn't remember the details. This doesn't interfere in any way with any ADA compliance? Wheelchairs can get by it? People in wheelchairs can get by? Fine, then that's fine, no problem. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 2 public guide licenses.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Move that they be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Liquors, and Legal Affairs for their recommendations.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 3 taxi operators and 1 vehicle for hire operator only.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Madam Chairman, move they be granted.
Councilor O'Keefe moves they be granted. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 2 taxi operators.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Mr. President, members of the council, I move that they both be granted.
Oh.
No, denied, I'm sorry, denied. Thank you.
Councilor O'Keefe moves that the 2 taxi operator licenses be denied. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 4 claims.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Mr. President, the 4 claims be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs for their recommendation.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 2 signed bonds.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Mr. President, I move that the signed bonds be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, return approved.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Unfinished business. None. Council McCarthy.
I move for adjourn.
Council McCarthy moves for adjourn. All those in favor, opposed, so voted.